Have you ever walked into a room and forgotten why you were there? Has it happened to you that suddenly you cannot remember the name of a person you have known for years? It has happened to me, and what at first seemed like a simple lapse gradually turned into a constant worry. I was 65 when I noticed something was changing. I started forgetting where I put the keys. I struggled to follow long conversations, and on more than one occasion, I repeated the same story to the same person without realizing it. I thought it was normal. I thought it was just age. But one day, during a doctor's visit, they told me something that opened my eyes. Your memory is not weakening only because time is passing. What you eat every day also matters more than you imagine. And that is where it all began. I started researching, watching my habits, reading labels, and I discovered it. There was one food I was eating almost every day, and without knowing it, I was damaging my memory, little by little. Today, I want to tell you what that food is. You are going to be surprised, because it is present in most kitchens, in sweet and savory dishes, and even in products that seem healthy. We all eat it, but few know what it really does to the brain, especially after 60. And not only that, I am going to share with you 6 signs that may be warning you right now that your memory is already being affected by your diet. Many people ignore them. I did too. But if you stay until the end of this video, I promise you will see this topic with fresh eyes. Because taking care of your mind does not start with pills or with brain exercises. It starts with what you decide to put on your plate. Before we begin, I want to ask you a question. How old are you, and from which country are you watching this video? I would love to know and to read you in the comments. As we age, many things change. The body, the habits, the priorities. But there is a change that few talk about, and it can be as silent as it is dangerous. The deterioration of the mind. When we reach 60, we notice that the speed at which we think is no longer the same. Tasks we once did naturally, like remembering a grocery list, following a long conversation, or recalling where we left an item, can become harder. And the most common thing we hear is, "It is normal. It is just age." But is it really normal? The answer is more complex than it seems. Yes, over time the brain undergoes changes. Brain volume shrinks slightly with the years. Communication between neurons can become slower, and certain areas like the hippocampus, which is essential for memory, tend to reduce their activity. That is natural. But there is something else happening, and it is not only about age. When forgetfulness becomes more frequent, when it affects daily life, when you start repeating conversations, losing items often, or feeling constantly confused, then we are no longer talking about mild lapses, but about cognitive decline that can be prevented or at least delayed. This is where most people go wrong. We think memory loss is an inevitable fate, that there is nothing to be done. But current studies show a very different reality. The diet we follow every day can have more influence on our brain health than age itself. At Rush University in the United States, a study was conducted with older adults who followed 2 types of diet. One rich in vegetables, nuts, and healthy fats, and another loaded with processed foods, refined flours, and sweets. The results were striking. Those who followed a healthy diet showed a clear slowdown in memory decline. Meanwhile, those who regularly ate certain foods, especially sugars and harmful fats, began to show early signs of cognitive loss even before 70. This study, and many others like it, reached a conclusion as powerful as it is concerning. It is not only age, it is what you eat every day. Because your brain, just like your muscles, needs the right fuel to stay strong and agile. And if day after day you expose it to substances that inflame it, weaken the connections between your neurons, or affect blood flow to the brain, then you are contributing to its deterioration, even without realizing it. I know because I lived it too. For years I ate foods that I now know were affecting my mind. And when I discovered it, it was like turning on a light in the fog. It is not magic, it is science, and it is urgent that you know it. Because maybe you, or someone you love, is eating that same food right now, believing it is harmless. When the body warns you, but you do not listen, Sometimes the body starts sending you signals. They are not shouts, not loud alarms. They are whispers, small forgettings, moments of confusion, mood changes that seem to come out of nowhere. And because they are so subtle, we ignore them. It happened to me, and it also happened to Ernest, a good childhood friend with whom I shared many afternoons of coffee and conversation. A few years ago, he began forgetting our get-togethers. First, it was one appointment he did not remember. Then a conversation he repeated as if it were the first time he was having it. Something felt different. He no longer strung ideas together as clearly. He got frustrated easily, and above all, there was something in his eyes, like a mist that had not been there before. His family thought it was normal. He's getting old, they said, but it was not age. It was his body warning him. Today, I want to tell you the 6 most common signs that your memory could be being damaged silently by your diet. If you see yourself in more than one, then this video can truly help you. First sign, frequent forgetting of names or appointments. One of the first alerts is forgetting the names of people you know, important events, or recent appointments. It is not the same as failing to recall an old fact. Here we are talking about something that happened recently, and it has already slipped away. Second sign, difficulty finding words. Has it ever happened to you that you know what you want to say, but you cannot find the exact word? It is on the tip of your tongue, but it will not come out. This occurs when the connections between your neurons are weakening, and although it may seem minor, it is an early warning. Third sign, repeating stories without realizing it. We all repeat anecdotes from time to time, but when you start telling the same story several times in the same day without realizing you already told it, it is time to pay attention. It is a sign that the brain is having trouble forming new memories and recognizing what has already been said. Fourth sign, constantly losing objects. We are not talking about forgetting something once. We are talking about leaving the keys in the refrigerator, or the remote in the bathroom, or looking for the glasses you are already wearing. This goes beyond absent-mindedness. It indicates a disconnect between short-term memory and everyday reasoning. Fifth sign, mood changes without a clear cause. When the brain is affected, not only memory changes, mood changes too. Irritability, sudden sadness, anxiety, or even emotional indifference can appear without an apparent explanation. These changes are real, and many times their origin lies in brain inflammation caused by certain foods. Sixth sign, difficulty following instructions or long conversations. Reading a text and not remembering what the previous sentence said. Hearing a simple instruction and forgetting it the next moment. Feeling lost in the middle of a chat with several people. All of this can be a symptom that working memory, the one we use in the moment, is being affected. Ernest had all these signs, and for a long time he thought he was simply aging. But when he visited a nutritionist, he realized something important. His daily diet was full of foods that inflamed his brain and hindered his cognitive function. The most surprising thing is that, according to him, he did not eat poorly. In fact, he ate like most people. Bread every morning, cereals, natural juices, the occasional dessert. Nothing unusual, nothing extreme, but there was the problem. And what did all those foods have in common? A silent ingredient that you might also be consuming daily, believing it does no harm. The sweet that sours your memory. It was not easy to accept that something so common, so everyday, so seemingly harmless, was wreaking havoc on my mind. Sugar, that sweet companion that has been on our table since we were children. At birthdays, at snack times, at family gatherings. Who would think it could be dangerous? But it is, especially after 60. What most people do not know is that refined sugar has a direct impact on a crucial part of the brain, the hippocampus. This small organ, shaped like a seahorse, is responsible for consolidating memories. It is what helps us move from what we live today to what we will remember tomorrow. And it is extremely sensitive to what we eat. When we consume refined sugar habitually, the body responds by raising blood glucose levels, and over time, that generates inflammation in the brain. That inflammation is not painful. You do not feel it. But little by little, it affects communication between neurons, making it harder for signals to travel back and forth. In other words, information does not flow like it used to. And the forgetfulness begins, the brain fog, the slowness in thinking. The most alarming thing is that this has been proven in numerous studies. In research published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease, it was observed that older adults who consumed high amounts of refined sugar had a higher risk of developing mild cognitive impairment and dementia, even without genetic history. That is, it was not inheritance, it was dietary habit. And here comes the most delicate part. Because when we talk about sugar, many people think of cakes, candies, or chocolate. But refined sugar hides in foods that most people eat daily without knowing it. Listen closely to this list. Healthy breakfast cereals, yogurts with fruit, white bread and pastries, condiments like ketchup, mayonnaise and light sauces, soft drinks, including those called natural, cereal bars or whole grain cookies, bottled juices, pasta sauces and prepared foods. I will repeat it clearly. It is not only the cake, it is the daily bread. The problem is not a slice of pie on a special occasion. The real damage comes when sugar is present every day, in small doses, from breakfast to dinner. Because the body does not forget what you give it frequently. And the brain, though silent, suffers it. I remember that when they explained it to me the first time, I felt angry, because no one had warned me before. Because for years I thought my forgetfulness was time's fault, when in reality it was linked to what I was eating. I do not want the same thing to happen to you. Remembering again. My name is Clara. I am 74 years old, and there was a time when I thought I would never feel like myself again. It did not happen overnight. At first they were small lapses. I would go to the kitchen and not know what I'd gone to get. I struggled to remember the name of a plant I had cared for years. I forgot to pay bills. One day, I left the stove on with the pot on it. Another day, I got confused about the way home on a street I knew by heart. My daughter worried. I felt ashamed. At a medical appointment, I told the doctor about it. She listened calmly, ran some tests, and when I finished speaking, she asked me something that threw me off. Clara, what do you eat every day? I told her about my breakfast with toast and jam, the afternoon yogurt, the sweets the neighbors gave me, the cookies I always kept nearby in case someone came by for tea. She looked at me kindly and said, "It is not just your age. It is sugar. It is affecting your brain more than you think." No one had ever told me so clearly. She proposed a challenge. Eliminate all refined sugar from my diet for 6 weeks. No sweets, no pastries, no boxed cereals, no bottled juices, and no fruit-flavored yogurts. She taught me to read labels and to identify sugar's disguised names: corn syrup, dextrose, maltose, sucrose. At first it was hard. I had headaches. I felt tired. I had constant cravings. But every time I thought about giving up, I remembered that I wanted to get my mind back. I wanted to feel like myself again. 2 weeks went by, and something changed. I slept better. I felt less irritable. And most importantly, I started remembering. I remembered the conversations I had had. I remembered what I went to the store for. I remembered the neighbors' names. And one afternoon, while I was watering my plants, I effortlessly remembered the name of the one I had loved so much: Bougainvillea. I burst into tears. It was not a miracle. It was science. Sugar had been clouding me, and without it, my mind began to clear. At the end of the 6 weeks, I went to the appointment. The doctor asked me how I felt. I answered with a smile and tears in my eyes. I feel like I came back to myself, not completely, but a lot. And that to me is everything. It was not magic. It was mindful nutrition. It was a daily decision, a small war against habit, and a great victory for my mind. I share this with you because maybe you, like me, are looking for answers. And maybe you do not need something new. Maybe you just need to let go of something that was always there, disguised as sweet. Poison does not always come in a bottle with a skull. If there is something I have learned over the years, it is that danger does not always look sinister. Sometimes it disguises itself as convenience, as habit, or as tasty food that comes ready to heat. We already talked about refined sugar and its direct effect on memory, but there are other silent enemies that are also damaging our brains, without us noticing. Today I want to tell you about 4 foods or food groups that, if you are already past 60, you should avoid or reduce as much as possible. Not because it is trendy, not because someone said it on the internet, but because science backs it, and thousands of people are already noticing the difference. 1. Trans fats. They are in cookies, margarines, industrial fried foods, and many products that last months on the shelves. Trans fats not only raise bad cholesterol and affect the heart, they also directly influence brain inflammation. A study from the National Institute on Aging in the United States showed that those who consumed more trans fats had a higher risk of cognitive decline and neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. They are cheap, they are tasty, but they are also toxic for your mind. And the worst part? They are everywhere. 2. Ultra-refined flours. White bread, crackers, common pastas, sponge cakes. Anything made with refined flours produces rapid spikes in blood glucose, and those spikes, sustained over time, end up altering brain function. They affect memory, concentration, and can create that constant feeling of cloudy mind or mental fatigue, especially in older adults. And unlike whole grains, these products do not provide fiber, vitamins, or real minerals. They just fill you up and wear you down. 3. Alcoholic beverages in excess. A glass of wine once in a while with a good meal and good company is not the problem. The problem is excess. Alcohol, consumed in large amounts or habitually, damages brain cells, alters neurotransmitters, and can even reduce the size of some brain areas over time. What starts as a distraction can end up affecting your ability to reason, remember, and make decisions. And the saddest thing is that many older adults use alcohol as a refuge from loneliness, without realizing that what eases them for a while is stealing years of clarity. 4. Ultra-processed foods. Anything that comes in packages, boxes, or cans that last months deserves a careful look. Artificial colorings, preservatives, flavor enhancers, additives with names impossible to pronounce. All of that can alter brain chemistry, inflame tissues, and affect long-term memory. A study published in Neurology revealed that people who consumed more ultra-processed foods were 30% more likely to experience mild cognitive impairment. 30%, just because of what they eat. Now then, what happens if we compare this type of diet with a more natural one? The Western diet, based on fast food, flours, sugars, and fried foods, has been linked to higher levels of anxiety, depression, and cognitive decline. Meanwhile, the Mediterranean diet, rich in fresh vegetables, legumes, fish, olive oil, and nuts, has shown protective effects on the brain. In fact, older people who follow this way of eating show better memory, less brain fog, and greater sharpness in the long term. The difference? What they put on the plate. Because at the end of the day, what you put on your plate shapes what happens in your head. Every bite is a decision. Am I feeding my mind, or am I dimming it little by little? The good news is that it is never too late to start choosing better. And in the next part, I will tell you which foods help strengthen memory after 60, so that you not only know what to avoid, but also what to add. What everyone believes, but is not true. Over these years, I have heard many phrases repeated as absolute truths, words that seem harmless but that, if you believe them, can completely change how you live, especially when it comes to memory. Today I want to share 3 very common myths about aging and the mind, and I want to debunk them with you, with evidence and with heart. Because accepting false ideas can be more dangerous than forgetfulness itself. Myth 1. It is normal to forget things after 60. I have heard this even from doctors, and although it is true that the brain changes with age, it does not mean it is inevitable to lose memory. The passage of time can slow certain mental processes, yes, but forgetting names every day, Getting lost in familiar places or not remembering what you ate yesterday should not be a normal part of aging. Science confirms it. Cognitive decline is not an obligatory consequence of age. In fact, there are people in their 80s or 90s with lucid, active minds, and others much younger with constant confusion. So, what is the difference? Lifestyle, diet, exercise, rest, mental stimulation. It is not age that destroys memory. It is neglect. Myth 2. Eating a little sugar does no harm. This is perhaps the most common excuse. One little cookie here, a teaspoon there, a sweet to lift the mood. Who does not do that? The problem is not the amount itself. It is the frequency. A little sugar once a month will not erase your memories. But a little every day, in every breakfast, at every meal, can have a silent but cumulative impact. Moreover, many times we do not really know how much we are consuming. Sugar is hidden in breads, yogurts, condiments, cereals, drinks, packaged soups, healthy cookies. And thus, that little bit becomes a daily dose that inflames your brain without you noticing. Myth 3. The important thing is not to have serious illnesses. This myth is dangerous because it sounds logical. Of course, no one wants a serious illness. But what about memory? Is it not just as important? When we lose the ability to remember, we also lose part of who we are. Our story, our conversations, our bonds. A healthy heart is vital, yes. But a lucid mind is what allows us to truly enjoy life. Letting memory fade little by little, as if it were normal, is like watching the leaves fall from the tree without trying to water it. What I want to tell you with all this is simple. Accepting forgetfulness as a natural part of aging makes us give up too early. It resigns us to living with less than we deserve, and it does not have to be that way. Your mind deserves the same care as your body, and you still have time to protect it, strengthen it, and keep it clear for many more years. Foods that light up your mind. We have talked a lot about what to avoid. Now it is time to focus on the positive. What can you eat to protect your memory, strengthen your mind, and feel clearer, more agile, more yourself, even after 60? The good news is that you do not need to spend a lot of money or become a professional chef. It is just about making a few changes, step by step, incorporating foods that have shown positive effects on brain health. Here are the most important ones. 1. Fruits rich in antioxidants. Did you know there are fruits that help reduce brain inflammation? Blueberries and purple grapes are small but powerful. They contain compounds called flavonoids, which help protect brain cells from oxidative damage. Studies with older adults have shown improvements in memory and in mental processing speed after including these fruits regularly. You can eat a handful at breakfast, mix them with oats, or simply enjoy them on their own. 2. Healthy fats. Not all fats are bad. There are some your brain needs to function properly. I'm talking about avocado, walnuts, and extra virgin olive oil. These good fats help maintain the flexibility of brain cell membranes and support communication between neurons. A study of older adults who regularly consumed olive oil showed better results on cognitive tests than those who used other refined fats. A practical idea? Toast a slice of whole grain bread, add avocado, and drizzle a little olive oil. Simple, tasty, and protective for your memory. 3. Leafy green vegetables. Spinach, chard, dark lettuces, arugula. These vegetables are not only good for the body, they are also good for the mind. They contain vitamin K, folic acid, lutein, and beta-carotenes, essential nutrients for maintaining cognitive functions. People who eat at least one daily serving of leafy greens have shown a slower decline in mental function over the years. You can sauté them, steam them, or even blend them into smoothies with fruit. The flavor can be mild, but the impact is profound. 4. Omega-3. One of the most important components for brain health. You find it in oily fish like salmon, sardines, or mackerel, and also in seeds like chia or flax. Omega-3 helps reduce inflammation, improves brain plasticity, and has been linked to a lower risk of cognitive decline in older adults. If you do not eat fish, You can add a tablespoon of chia seeds to your plain, unsweetened yogurt or sprinkle ground flaxseed over salads. 5. Water, the forgotten drink. It seems obvious, but it is one of the most common mistakes. Many older people do not drink enough water. Dehydration, even mild, can affect memory, mood, and concentration. The brain needs water to function well. My recommendation? Always keep a glass or bottle nearby. Do not wait until you are thirsty. Make it part of your daily routine, like brushing your teeth. How can you make these changes without giving up enjoyment? It is not about eliminating the pleasure of eating. It is about rediscovering a way of nourishing yourself that makes you feel good, clear, present. You can keep enjoying your favorite dishes, just with a few adaptations. Whole grain bread instead of white, fresh fruit instead of processed desserts, olive oil instead of margarine, water instead of bottled juices. Start little by little, one change per week, one step per day. Mini challenge, 1 week without refined sugar. I invite you to try something very simple, yet powerful. 7 days without refined sugar. No sweets, no cookies, no flavored yogurts or bottled juices. Instead, eat fruit, drink water, cook at home. Write down how you feel. Notice your energy, your mental clarity, your mood. You may discover that what you thought was normal in your body was not natural. It was just habit. And perhaps, like many people, you will begin to notice your mind waking up, little by little, as if the dust were being brushed off. It is not too late to get your mind back. At this point in the video, you already know which foods can harm your memory and which ones nourish it. But there is something even more important: what you do with that information. Because knowing is not the same as acting. And if you have made it this far, it is because something inside you wants a change. And believe me, you still have time. That is why I want to share a simple, clear, and practical action plan you can follow over the next 30 days to strengthen your mind, improve your memory, and regain a part of you that you may have thought was lost. They are small daily steps. But as with everything in life, big results do not come from big sacrifices. They come from small decisions sustained over time. Here is this 5-pillar plan. 1. Eliminate added sugar. We already talked about it, but now I suggest you make it concrete. Over the next 30 days, avoid refined sugar in all its visible and hidden forms. This includes sweets and candies, cookies and pastries, bottled juices, flavored yogurts, industrial sauces with added sugar. Swap all of that for fresh fruit, nuts, tea, or unsweetened infusions. Hard at first? Yes. Liberating after 1 week? Totally. You will see how your concentration improves, how mental fatigue decreases, and how even your mood stabilizes. 2. Walk 30 minutes a day. You do not need to run marathons or go to the gym. Just go out and walk half an hour every day. Walking improves blood flow to the brain, reduces stress, oxygenates the mind, and helps release built-up tension. Do it in the morning to start the day with energy, or in the afternoon to clear your head. And if you can, do it in nature. A park, a square, in sunlight. Do not underestimate the power of putting your body in motion. It is a medicine you cannot buy at a pharmacy. 3. Sleep at least 7 hours a night. Sleeping well is not a luxury. It is a biological necessity. During deep sleep, the brain processes the day's information, consolidates memory, and clears toxins. If you sleep poorly, your mind becomes slower, more forgetful, and more confused. So make sure to turn off screens at least 1 hour before bedtime. Eat a light dinner. Sleep in a dark, quiet environment. Make rest a priority, because a tired brain cannot think clearly. 4. Exercise your mind every day. Memory, like any muscle, gets stronger with use. You do not need major resources to do it, just willpower. Here are some simple ideas. Read at least 10 pages a day. Write a small journal with what you did or what you are grateful for. Play cards, crosswords, or memory games. Learn something new, a word, a recipe, a poem. Age does not matter. The brain can always create new connections. It just needs you to invite it to wake up. 5. Practice gratitude and light meditation. Stress and negative emotions also affect memory. A confused mind is not only a tired mind, it can also be a wounded mind. So devote 5 or 10 minutes a day to something simple but powerful. Write 3 things you feel grateful for. Breathe deeply for 2 minutes with your eyes closed. Listen to soft music and simply rest your attention in the present. Mental calm is the fertile ground for a clear memory. And gratitude, moreover, strengthens positive neural networks. 30 days, 5 habits, a change that can shape the rest of your life. Memory is a muscle. If you do not use it, it weakens. But if you care for it, nourish it, and exercise it, it can accompany you with strength for many more years. What you decide to eat today builds your tomorrow. We have reached the end of this journey, and if you are listening to these words, I want you to know something. I respect you deeply, because not everyone takes the time to care for themselves. Not everyone has the courage to look at their life and ask, am I doing what is best for me? Today we talked about memory, but deep down we talked about something much bigger, about how to live with awareness, with presence, and with dignity. Let us remember together what we learned. We discovered that it is not normal to forget everything after 60. That mental decline is not an inevitable punishment of age, but often the result of small daily decisions. We talked about 6 silent signs indicating that your memory is being affected. We mentioned foods that sabotage your brain's functioning, and others that nourish it, strengthen it, and keep it awake. And among all those silent enemies, one stood out above the rest: refined sugar. That substance that seems harmless, that is on every table, at every breakfast, at every celebration. The one I also ate every day, until I understood it was silently harming me.
No one warned me.
No one told me that my brain fog, my forgetfulness, my fatigue, could be related to what I put on my plate. Until one day I decided to try something different. And little by little I began to feel clearer, more awake, more myself. It does not matter how old you are. It does not matter how long you have been eating a certain way. You are not condemned. Not everything is lost. You can always make new decisions. You can always begin again. Even with something as simple as changing your breakfast, going for a walk, or saying no to that sweet that once seemed harmless. Your memory is your story. Your mind is your home, and caring for it is one of the deepest forms of self-love. I have already started on this path, and although I am not perfect, today I can remember more, and what I remember most is how important it is to take care of oneself. Thank you for coming this far. Now I want to ask you something very simple. How old are you, and from which country are you watching this video? I would love to get to know you a little more, and if you feel up to it, will you join the challenge of 1 week without refined sugar? Tell me in the comments. I am reading you with care and respect. See you soon.